Ladies and gentlemen, let's go.
Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at?
Well, actually, I live in Delaware now, so does that make me a Delawarean?
Sing it, girl.
You know, Beyonce is my friend in my head. Jay my people sometimes, too.
Yeah. I mean, like, be true, man.
You know, when I was a kid, I had an imaginary enemy. Like, does that make me crazy?
Life as P, presented by Say What Radio.
Hey, what's up? Welcome back to Life is P. I'm your host, Phoenix Ash. If this is the first time you're joining me, I appreciate you checking in. If you are a repeat listener, you already know what it is. I got mad love for you. I gotta get my thoughts off because, there's a lot of thoughts happening as this journey continues with me fulfilling my passion of being a writer. And I'm so blessed. I've got several published books under my belt now. Yay. When I first started this, I had not one, but I got 3 under my current publisher and several that I've self-published prior to. So you guys have watched it go down. And then, sprinkle in some of my personal life there, right? So everybody knows about my boo baby, Sadia, how she's a rainbow baby. And if you don't know what that is, it's a child that's born after loss. She is my 8th child, but my first to survive. So I've had a lot of journeys that sort of parallel with each other and one impacts the other. It's due to her birth that I really started to take my writing seriously in terms of taking the career path into my own hands. Unfortunately, there's other things that became collateral damage, so to speak. And one of those things is my marriage. Once I healed from all my lifetime trauma, it became more clear that this is not where I'm supposed to be. And in order for both of Sadia's parents to thrive, we needed to not be together because all we were doing was surviving. All we were doing was getting from day to day. And I wasn't only picking up the anguish that I was feeling, but I was picking up some anguish within him. And whether he admits it today or admits it tomorrow, he sometimes go back and forth. It's there. And I've come from a place of let's not traumatize each other. Let's help each other live our best lives. And it has not been easy. But I tell you what hasn't been easy for real, is dating. Oh my God. First of all, I want to be completely transparent with you guys. There's a lot of people who's like, wait until your divorce is final. Wait until you guys are no longer living in the same house. So we had to be in the same house for 9-10 months after divorce was decided. Now, I don't know if you've ever been through a separation or a divorce, but that joint is brutal. If you are not both very tempered people who can mature, I don't know, but whatever it is, we ain't that. And COVID hit and it was like, are you freaking kidding me? And it just became really difficult to expedite a separation of households. But at the same time, when you going through a situation, relationship or whatever, even like your job situation, when you've been hungry for something else for so long, when you've been void of something for so long, once you've come face to face with it, once you've hit the nail on the head, it's very difficult to then put that aside or quiet it and say, hey, sit in the corner for a second because I'm not ready. And truth be told, it's not because I'm not ready. It's because my situation isn't ready. So it's not about me not being ready. It's about my situation not being ready. And sometimes we equate one to the other. Like, oh, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for that. When really, it's not you who's not ready. It's the situation that's not ready. That's a tough call right there because there's so many opposing views. There's some who's going to be like, well, if the situation ain't ready, you ain't ready. You may think you're ready, but if your situation is not there, then you're not. And I'm a creative, right? I'm a writer. I'm a passion chaser. I'm a goal getter. That doesn't sit right with me because in all other aspects of my life, when opportunity arises or when the decision is made, it doesn't matter if my situation is ready. I go get that. I go pursue that. I go snatch that. And I hold it. I grasp it. I conquer it. And then everything else starts to fall into place. I worked at a job as a contractor and I was making decent money. The contract was ending. To leave that job would have been the decision to pursue my passion, right? So I wasn't bothered that the contract was ending. However, financially, I should have been bothered. I really should have been. So I took on a permanent position at the place, making way more money because I was trying to force something because I was like, well, my financial situation isn't ready for me to pursue this passion. But I went against myself, and I say this 100 times that anybody who knows me, I'm like, the only time I'm wrong is when I doubt myself. At least that's my experience. So I take on this other job, dead wrong for taking it because that was not supposed to be the next move for me. But it was the next move for my financial situation. That's what my situation was ready for. So I took it on and I only lasted a few months. I could not get my spirit to cooperate. And if you've ever read my book, Long Neck Bottles, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I could not get my spirit to cooperate. The simplest of tasks I could not fulfill. I could not gather the instructions properly from a simple email. It was like everything in me was shutting off until I finally was like, I have to go pursue this passion. I have to make it happen. And I was lucky enough to have someone in my corner who loved me beyond limits and was like, I'm going to help you be financially ready for this passion chase. Listen, I'm forever indebted for that. But that help, along with my savings, was only supposed to be for a short period of time. Now, granted, I took time off and I hustled. What was supposed to be 6 months or 5 or 6 months turned out to be over a year. And I was blessed in that aspect. But my situation would have said, you're not ready for that. But not only did I get fruit from that, I was able to self-publish some books and I was able to build a resume for myself and a calling card for myself so that when I did pursue signing with a publisher, I had something to offer. It wasn't just them here's some money and write some books. They didn't have to blindly believe in me. They didn't have to make this whole assessment about whether I could be trusted, whether I could fulfill deadlines, whether I could complete projects. They didn't have to do that because I had something to offer. I had something to put on the table. I had done some work. I knew some background about how things worked. I had to struggle on my own. So their same steps that they had to follow to figure out how the game worked, I followed those same steps. So they knew that I knew the struggle. I knew the importance of being where I was because I knew the step out on faith and try this and try that. Follow your passion, follow your heart. I knew that. And so I was able to become more valuable to the situation, the new situation, because I had those things behind me. And who knows how long it would have taken me to sign to a publisher had I continued with that other job, because that other job was all consuming. Part of the reason why my body would not cooperate is because I could not find time to write. I went from writing 3 hours a day to having to schedule a writing day every 2 weeks. And I know that somebody said, well, it's not that you shouldn't be working, it's that you should be working somewhere else or you should be doing something else. But it's not that easy, right? That takes time. That takes effort. That takes a pause in your mind. That takes focus to find employment someplace else. And my spirit was like, this right now, this right here. And so I'm just thinking about how many times we've told ourselves we're not ready when it's actually the situation that's not ready. And I really don't even have the answer to be like, we'll do it anyway. I really don't, because I don't know what the situation is. And sometimes we got to go with the situation, right? Particularly when it involves kids. I'm not telling anybody that, like, if you can't get what's happening, step out your marriage. I'm not telling nobody none of that. So I don't have the answer for you, but I will raise the question because I feel like we need to ask ourselves, is it me who's not ready or is my situation not ready? Because even if it doesn't mean that you do it anyway, it may mean that the work that you do to prepare is not necessarily the work in you, but the work in your situation. Got you all confused, you running around trying to fix every damn flaw you got, trying to make yourself likable to everybody that you come across, trying to figure out how to fit in all these other people's boxes. when really you need to work on your situation. It's not necessarily you, because you're going to have a flaw. Nobody's saying don't work on your flaws and don't get yourself better and don't heal yourself and all of that. I definitely ain't saying that. But what I'm saying is sometimes the bulk of the work needs to be done to the situation, not necessarily you, because maybe you've done the work already. Maybe you've healed from certain traumas already. Maybe you've gotten to a place of maturity already. Maybe you've done your books. Maybe you've done your planning. Maybe you've written your business proposal. I don't know what stage of game you at. I'm just saying that you may need to consider that it's the situation that needs to be prepared as opposed to you. And there's somebody who's going to tie one into the other. Like I said, like they're going to know that all is the same thing. For me, it's not. My brain compartmentalizes things. So I need to be able to take the dental floss and slice it through and separate. I need to be able to separate and say, this is that and this is that. That's how I can move on from certain things. That's how I deal with pain. Honestly, that's how I deal with pain. In my first few moments, I am, ooh, child. I'm full of tears, full of emotion, overwhelmed. And there's many people who are like, but how can you be so put together within an hour? And it's really because my brain compartmentalizes. I take the dental floss and I separate and I go, this is emotion, but this is logic. This is what makes sense on the other side of this. Listen, for me, sometimes following my logic is painful. If I could follow my heart all the time, sometimes, but it's necessary. It's necessary, and it's necessary to protect my heart. So I have to separate things. I have to put things in boxes in order to analyze them and make sense of them. And from my understanding, it's not a typical trait of a creative, but it's a trait that works for me. And I do know other creatives who have that trait. So I don't know who's standardized and what's typical, but I have to break it apart. I have to see it. So for me, it's very important to separate whether it's me who's not ready or my situation. Because most times when it's my situation that's not ready, it's because the other people in my situation ain't ready. And that's where the tug of war happens. Because it's like, for how long am I going to put myself, my wants, my needs, my desires, my fulfillment on hold? Because there's people in my life who won't cheer me on when I get there. They won't be in my cheering section. They won't be rooting me on. They won't be clapping for me when I get there. But yet and still, I'm not moving because they are the situation that's not ready. Long time ago, story time. Long time ago, I was in a relationship that ended poorly. Very poorly. I mean, very poorly. He messed up my credit. I was dumb. So that's how he got access to it. Okay, don't ask me no stupidness. So, messed up my credit, never officially broke up with me, just started living with someone else. Very painful. And it seems that I have a series of, this happens to me so many times in life, that the person that I'm dating will end up dating someone who looks like they could be related to me right afterwards. But I guess they just have a look. But anyhow, God bless the men who married somebody who looks totally different. Thank you. Sanity needs that. But anyhow, I was dating this guy and it ended poorly. And somebody that he had been friends with, who he was friends with no longer, was still a friend of mine. And unfortunately, during the friendship portion, hold on, guys, you're going to see me be a mom real fast because I hear my daughter calling me. Hold on. Yes. Okay, give me 5 minutes, okay? Okay, so I'm going to have to rush story time. Anyhow, long story short, we were all friends, whatever. I was friends with the friend's baby mom, whatever. And then all our friendships broke apart, but we remained friends. And we remained friends to the point where, he was like, I think I'm falling in love with you. And there was a pause. And it was like, I don't know if this should happen. I don't know. Because the situation looked hazy. Everybody was going to talk about me, right? Because I had been with friends and I was that young where it mattered. And it was just, I wasn't ready. But my situation really wasn't ready for the simple fact that, actually, I'm going to take that back. My situation was ready. I was free. I was available and open to love. But even though the situation looked ready, It was me who needed the work. It was me who needed to be healed from some things. It was me who needed to recognize what my triggers were. It was me who needed to build my strength because I didn't know that there were traumas that I was going to come across that I needed to be strong enough to make it through. Now, I'm still standing, so obviously I was strong enough to make it through. But I believe had I been in a position to target those issues back then, to fix those issues back then, that some of those traumas that I came across might not have existed for me. But because it was me who needed the work, I was blind to the fact that the situation looked ready, but I was not. You see what I'm saying? You got to separate. Sometimes it is the situation, sometimes it's you. And I'm saying that because in my marriage, that's what it was, is that my situation was ready, but it was me that was not. When I got married, it wasn't, I'm so in love and like, we're going to marry each other and we're going to make the best of this thing or whatever. It was, the situation looked like we should do this or it's going to come to an end. Neither one of us had healed from traumas. Neither one of us had learned how to love each other properly. And for years, we struggled through that and gave each other some half-ass form of what we thought love was, or overcompensation in some areas, but not enough in other areas. It was just very difficult. So after a lot of years of struggle and a lot of years of trauma, it's finally coming to an end. But it's coming to an end at a point where emotionally I've been free of this bondage for quite a bit. He may not admit it today or yesterday, but he would have admitted it 6 months ago. He probably was at a place where he was free of this emotional bondage, I would say, for the past 2 or 3 years. I think it's just hard saying things out loud. It's hard confronting a change. It's hard confronting the drastic changes that life is about to hand us. However, I believe, like in anything, the quicker you face it, the more head on you face it, the more empowered you are to conquer it and thrive behind it. But, it's a separation for me in my mind of what's not ready. So when I think about dating, and I know sometimes I'll be like, yo, I'm going to run. I'm not ready. But that's just because my emotional side is just like, yo, do I want to get like all wrapped up in all of this stuff or whatever? But that's not me not being ready. I feel like people think that in order for you to be ready to be in a new relationship or to get to know somebody new, you have to be willing to take all these leaps and dives, and you have to be willing to put your heart on the line. I don't know about that. That kind of goes against my self-preservation, which I feel will always be present. And I feel like sometimes we're lucky enough to meet the person who it doesn't feel like we are betraying ourselves by loving that person. My self-preservation is always going to be intact. I feel like the person that I'm going to love is going to make me feel as though their love is part of my self-preservation. That it's not so much of a risk. It's not so much of a chance at pain. That they have shown me that they are going to be part of my self-preservation. That's where I'm standing at today. Now, you could listen to me for 6 months. I might tell you something different. But that's where I'm at. So I just really want you to ask yourself, like, is it you that needs to be worked on, or is it your situation that needs to be worked on? Which thing is not ready? Which thing is holding you back from taking the next step? And whichever your answer is, work on that. Work on that. Don't ignore it and accept it and just throw it all away and say the next step is not ready for me or whatever. Figure out whether it's you or your situation and then work on it and work on clearing it out. Because if you don't face it head on, it's going to exist a lot longer than you intend. Work it out. All right? All right. That's my piece, y'all. Anyway, if you want to pick up any of my fictional work, I have Delectable, a sweet romance, available on Amazon as well as Kindle. It's juicy. It's about love. They fall in love. It's so good. There's a lot of good food in there. Ooh, chocolate cake and different kinds of coffees. And I had a good time writing that one. You check out my Instagram. You can find the menu somewhere up there. But yo, it really is a sweet romance. It is definitely something that I think if you're having a hard time with life, or if you just need something to make your heart happy, yeah, read Delectable, a sweet romance. It'll set you right. Read it right before you go to bed, yo. You go to bed nice. All right. Until next time when we can exchange power. I love you guys. Peace.